Hi, everybody, and welcome to a special episode of A Soul Grows in Israel. Today, I had the privilege of revisiting a student I had almost 10 years ago. I don't always get to keep in touch with my students, but every now and then we get to come back together. And I kind of feel like a proud mama, even though I only have these girls once a week for like 10 months for a couple of hours, and yet you become so attached. Anyway, I found out that this previous student, she was Rifki, now she's Rifka, changed her entire life. Not only did she move to Israel, as many of the girls really do, which again, moving without a support system, without a spouse, like, I don't know if I could have done that. And then they move here, they get married here, their husbands join the army, they have children here, and it's just like, it's really hard to believe. It's kind of mind-boggling. Anyway, as you'll see from our interview, she totally changes her life around after being affected by the war and what's going on here in Israel and having a spouse that was in the army for weekend after weekend in a row with a new baby. We got to drive to the north, which is literally my favorite part of Israel, aside from the coast. I love it up there. And we were driving, we passed by horses and cows and dramatic clouds and mountains. It was just a real privilege. And we get there and we're on a winery. And her husband earlier took us on a tour. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put up some pictures. Not only are the bottles of wine so beautifully done, they're so meaningful. One of the bottles she has for the 2023 year is something called rousing kriya, which is when you tear something when someone is in mourning. And the label is torn, but it's torn in the shape of the state of Israel. I mean, then her last name is Baum, which is Baum, which is a tree. So there's like a thumbprint of her son as the tree. And it's just so meaningful. All those bottles are already, they were already fulfilled. All of those bottles have already been purchased. So we just got to see them and they're like hands on. The whole idea of it was so moving and inspiring. I was on a high after coming back, and I really wanted to share that experience with you guys at home. So sit back, enjoy, and open your heart and get ready to be inspired. A Soul Grows in Israel, a podcast where we ask the questions about ancient Jewish wisdom, modern life, and everything in between. So let's ask, let's have fun, and let's grow together. So, last time we spoke, you were a student of mine.
I was.
Is that 10 years ago?
I heard you say that on another podcast. I was like, it can't be 10.
No, how long ago? You
No,
had
I think it was like 2014.
Oh my goodness. And I just became a teacher, which was a whole new chapter in my life. And I was just telling my students today how when I look back as how I was a teacher then, I'm almost like a completely different human, which is so interesting. And then I look at you and what, like, fill in the blanks. What happened since you were a girl from England in some for a gap year, and now you're a wife, a mother, and you have a winery. Like, where did this journey even come from?
It's a good question. First of all, we never realized you were a new teacher, so you must be very good.
I feel like we realized, I don't know.
We just liked you.
Okay.
I guess it all started when I met Sam. Really, I was doing national service in Shared Tzedek Hospital.
Yeah.
I basically decided that's what I wanted my profession to be, and I wanted to see if I could manage it in Hebrew. So I thought I'll do a year of national service there. I'll see how it goes, and then I'll decide if I'm going to study or not. And during that year, I started going out with Sam, and everything changed.
Everything changed.
Everything changed. I think I'd never met someone who was so comfortable in his own skin in every scenario, and also someone who was so in love with the land. But when he spoke about it, it didn't sound so far off. Like, I could have the concept of dreams in my head, but sounds someone who like he's gonna do it. So on like our first date, he said to me like, we're gonna have vineyards and horses, and I'm just like, yeah, okay.
It sounded like a dream.
But this was really like he basically made this silent promise to himself that if he's not gonna, he did 5 years of in the army.
Wow.
5.5. So he said if he's not serving the land, if he's not protecting the land, he's gonna work the land. And we basically started dating at this wine bar, which is actually called Corky, which is actually now my puppy's name.
Oh.
But we used to sit and drink wine, and that was really how it was wanted.
How? So he really planted these seeds, and you're saying he wasn't just a dreamer. which is usually the challenge. Usually you're either or. Either you're the pragmatic one who has no vision, and then you have the dreamer. And it sounds like he's kind of both wrapped into one.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So when did you tell your family, I'm not coming back home? Like, how does that work?
It was everyone in high school already. My friends were like, don't invest in a relationship with her. She's leaving. Like, she's out.
You had one foot out the door.
She's out. She's
Wow. This is from London?
from Manchester.
That explains a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know? Wow.
Yeah.
You were not coming back.
No.
Yeah.
The only thing I miss is the people.
Yeah.
Like there's
Yeah.
I was like one of those kids that I used to like watch videos in Israel and just cry. Like it's completely irrational. It just was something.
Most people who live here are of the irrational sort, especially if you moved here.
Yeah.
I just had this, it was such a weird experience. I went for my son's PTA, and his rabbi, he looked at me and my husband and said, how'd you guys even move here? Like, there's missiles every day. Your people must think you're nuts leaving New York. And I left and I was a bit shook because I did choose to live here. And it was like a kind of a strange interaction. And my husband said, well, someone in his shoes, he has both feet in galut. Like, both feet have a different mentality of like war and sadness and danger and no army. But we have this, let's have one foot in Gula and one foot in Galut. We still know there's pain and we can't ignore it. But on the other hand, Israel's hitting. Like, it is such a beautiful, awesome place to live that there's this dream that we still are subscribing to.
100%.
You know?
I think it was the first time that my eyes were open to like, I'm not part of a religion. I'm part of a tribe of people. And for me, that was all I needed in my life. My Judaism is very much based on my relationship with God, which is very much based on my relationship with people.
Yeah.
And just being here and waking up, and now like before, like living in an agricultural moshav where that's what people do, and it's like a mitzvah that you can't do unless you're here, and it's like ancient stuff that's daily. And for me, that's it.
When I tell people that the word dat is not really a Jewish word, people get mad at me. They're like, what do you mean? It's a Jewish religion. I said, you have to go back to ancient Hebrew, not modern Hebrew. Modern Hebrew, we borrow words, and fair enough. But ancient Hebrew, Yehadut means of Judah, or if you really want to get technical, it means the thankful ones. It's a tribe, it's a family. Religion was something from Christianity, etc. So it's not a religion. In other words, whether you keep things or not, you're going to be Jewish, just by birth, right? Yeah. And I find that in Israel, every gavan, every shade and color of Jew is valid. And in the States, I felt personally, it was kind of you're from, or you're kind of like either rebellious or you're on the outs. And here I feel no pressure, no social pressure. I'm doing things hopefully mostly because I want to. I wonder if you find that out here, because it's kind of like the Wild West.
100%. Don't want to offend anyone, but this is like, I guess how I see it is very much that like, take the example of kids. When kids aren't at home, they're always polite and they always do what they're supposed to do and they're in keeping and whatever. When they're at home, they kick back, they chill, they're loved regardless, and it's fine. They're in their comfort zone. I feel like that's Jews in the diaspora and Jews in Israel. Like Jews in the diaspora, you'd be in the box of you need to look the same, dress the same, eat the same, hang out with the same like-minded people. Yeah. And here everyone's at home. There's none of the pressure. Like everyone is
be as rude as you want to be.
100%, because you have the right to be, because you're in your own house.
I love that. And it's also when you're at someone else's house, you have to watch out for like, you got to be polite, because I don't want to pogrom. So I'm going to say please and thank you. Yeah. And in Israel, I love that. And I find that specifically, I have older kids. Obviously, you're a mother to some young ones. You have one little folk on this. So sweet. Let me just tell you, the fact that my kids have the split to be here, it blows my mind, because they're not apologetic Jews and they're not keep your head down Jews, to the point where when we come up to different places, like a hotel in Pesach or whatever, and we're with foreigners, my kids see a difference more than I do. I'm still kind of both or somewhere nowhere in a way, but they're kind of like, what? Everyone's so image oriented. What is this? And I'm like, guys, calm down. But then I realized it's a different language. Yeah. And what we have to work on, I think, is I have to work on not being snobby to the people who didn't have the split to live here in a weird way, because I've got so much Israel pride. And I just think that's such an interesting thing for me to have to work on, as opposed to people say, wow, you gave up so much to live in Israel. And I'm like, I think I upgraded. Big time. Different
quality of life, incomparable.
Okay. So I know you are a registered nurse, which is a far cry from being out here. Tell me.
So I was an internal medicine nurse I was on the same ward for about 7 years. I only worked as a nurse for 2 years because I worked there throughout my studies. Yeah. And I was obsessed with it. It was everything that I was, the adrenaline, the feeling of like, you feel like you're Superwoman. Yeah. Everything you do, like, And then there's like the contrast of people telling you everything you do is Avodat Kodesh and you guys are angels in white. And then compared to people that are literally waiting to like, they would punch you if they could from the anger and the things that don't go right. And, you know, seeing family members at that time of panic and you're the punching bag because there are no doctors in sight. The doctors are out of reach, but you are.
And they're at the most critical point in their life.
And and it's completely understandable. During the war, Sam was called up to Miluim, was there. The first time he was there was like almost 7 months in a row.
Scary 7 months.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We did 16 Shabbatot apart. The beginning was really, really like the most insane.
You had a 2-year-old at this point?
I had a 2-year-old who literally went to sleep for a nap on Simchat Torah and woke up to like living with one parent.
Wow.
It was insane. Mm-hmm. And there was just too much life and death at home, at work. I was only working night shifts, so Lovey wouldn't feel me away so much. And I basically had to make a decision whether or not to carry on with, we had a little winery in our back garden, and I didn't know if, my thought process was, I don't know what or who Sam's going to lose when he goes in, and I don't want him to come out and have lost what we like worked so hard on. So
in terms of even financially, you're saying, like, why would he lose?
No, financially it was nothing at that point. Wow. It didn't, like, it was 200 bottles, I think. In terms of, he had a dream and we were doing it, and to suddenly let it go, we just put all our savings into like buying a micro winery. And for me, also when we couldn't speak, it was very much like a tangible way of communicating without I was doing something for a relationship without, because there was nothing else I could do.
That is profound. Yeah.
And then I fell in love with it, and we had this, I mean, you can cut this out if you want. Life got so intense. I fell pregnant in that part of the war, and I literally had to like tell Sam via his commander like to call me. Like, it was ridiculous. And then literally the day after he came out, I had a miscarriage.
Oh my, I would never cut that out, because how many listeners are living with this stuff and are not talking about it?
I mean, I'm sure there are so many, and I'm happy for you to like put a contact there, like if anyone wants. I mean, it's not my first and it wasn't my last, but
it's actually something that's not spoken about.
No,
and there's no shame here. Really, my mind is blown how many times I did this college teacher course, and how many brides, when they hear the word miscarriage, it's almost like, yeah, that would never be me. And then it's so common.
Yeah. Well, at the beginning, I couldn't even connect with it because I was like, oh, that's not my story. Right. Like, that's not
right. And you were alone dealing with this? Hold on, your mom is not here.
No, my parents are here. My in-laws are here, and they were unbelievable. Every time I had a shift, one would come and sleep over with Lovey. Yeah. That bit already, Sam was out for the end of it, so that was like,
yeah. You're a single mom. Not just a single mom, but a single mom whose husband, he's in war, you know, with that kind of fear. How did you stay sane? Was it pouring yourself into this winery dream?
I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Yeah.
Because although like having a child makes you need to get out of bed and function.
Yeah.
There's no adult conversations we had. You don't want to be leaning on your 2-year-old for like emotional support. Like, I can't like, sort of cry every time I look at him. He has to think everything's fine.
Yeah.
And then once he's asleep, that's it. You can break.
And then once you were asleep, though, you were in the hospital. It sounds like you didn't have much off time at all.
Yeah. But in a way, I think that's what kept my brain well.
Wow. To such a much lesser extent. I was just telling my husband specifically that this is the first time I feel like I'm coming back to myself. And I didn't consider myself traumatized from this war. Thank God I didn't, not even thank God, but I didn't know anyone at war. I knew people of people or sons of people that I love. But I realized for the first time TV is affecting me again. I didn't know that. For the first time, I'm kind of a little bit scared of heights. It sounds so funny, but all my fears and all my sensitivities went away for a little bit because I disassociated with drops. And now I feel safe enough to be afraid again. I just was kind of like tough guy, come at me. I felt like adrenaline, like going all the way forward.
Survival. The whole country is in survival mode, and we all need group therapy.
Literally, maybe this is a version of it. But on the same token, I think you are first line of defense. It's very different for a spouse or a mother or a child when it's their husband that's going in there. And thank God he came home and made everyone come home safely. But I do understand how not being alone with your thoughts too long, in fact, being productive, is a real way to cope. But then you have to come to a place where you're like, okay, I'm ready to deal.
But yeah, it's also difficult because someone doesn't live that, and then the void becomes null because it's full of other stuff.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they come back home and they have to readjust into life, and like job opportunities have been missed, and everything carries on without them. And for them, I think it's also really difficult. It's less spoken about because they're around Bell and they've just come out of Gaza and everything, you know.
And they're heroes. And you know, see in the US, unfortunately, they're not heroes. But when these vets come home, there's no room for them, and there's like a real trauma there.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder also if you filled your life, because I know in my stupid tiny way, my husband travels on business for 5 days in a row. When he comes home, I forget to make place for him, and I have to relearn someone else is in the kitchen making a mess, and it's such a blessing. But you learn to sort of live on your own. What's the adjustment like when the husband does come back?
Hours of therapy.
Yeah.
Hours. Really, thank God. And it's not a given.
Yeah.
That I know people, you know, that really are desperate for their spouse to go, and then
the relationships need help. It's such a
so much
fragile
help.
thing.
I don't think people realize that like majority of the people living in Israel, marriage is on the brink. And like thank God we were able to. First of all, the first adjustment period was a lot of therapy. And even if it's not PTSD, like these guys are living with paranoia of an enemy for months on end, and then they come home and they're doing it in a supermarket. That's not a normal experience. Like everyone around them,
Yeah.
they know what they smell like, they know what they can see them in the dark, and then suddenly they're with other people, and it's
jarring.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. I remember the first time we went to IKEA, and suddenly like you watch it happen, just like blank, like,
oh my God. Can I boil it down to another? You know, I'm trying to, in my own civilian way, my dad is very much a child of Holocaust survivors, and he has really strong views about what was happened to his own aunts, little girls that were killed. And he really was brought up with that trauma. When he comes to Israel, he still has that enemy in me perspective. And so when he goes into a place like IKEA, he is fight or flight the whole time. And it's not fear, it's aggression.
Yeah.
And it's like, I realize that is what trauma looks like. And I give it to him, and I wonder how much of it I carry, or, you know, my friends do from that generation. But I understand what that it's like to sort of realize, no, there are some good people here. And you start to have to re-regulate yourself to regular life.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
And also we lived 2 separate wars because I was in a war where I know every hostage and every hostage name and their story, and he has no idea. He went in on the 7th. So he came out, and the dissonance between what I experienced the war to have been and all the stuff I saw and whatever. So, and his was like much more of it's a lochem, like it's not the same thing. And that was also, we, you know,
can't even have a conversation.
We ended up, I'm the last person to book myself a holiday.
Really? I'm not.
Literally the last. Yeah. Honestly, the last. I was like, that's it. Like we went to Sri Lanka for 3 weeks, all 3 of us, and just I didn't turn my phone on. It was like a complete, like a family rehab, literally like a rehabilitating.
That might have saved your lives.
100%.
That was so important. And you went to the East, not by mistake either. That's a real disconnect.
Yeah. That was amazing.
And for also your husband to be with this kid again, and without the pressures of regular life, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It sounds like you have really good instinct as to what you guys need at that time, which is also not everyone knows that stuff intuitively. Like when you're like, we're not doing so great, we're gonna fix this, and this is how, without shame and without stigmas.
I think it's what you said, it's survival.
Survival.
I've never ever felt. The only thing that's like been a stable, solid in my life is Sam. And as soon as that's not stable, I'm like, okay, so something's got to shake.
Which I always, no, you're really speaking my language, because thank God, you know, leading her up, but my best friend is my spouse. It doesn't always fall out that way. And so when I want to go away, it's him. When I want to talk about something I'm really proud of that I did, it's my first address. And again, I know not everyone has that, and they're still fine. But in this case, when things are unstable there, that's when my world is completely on edge, much more than anything else. And that's the survival. I need to fix this because this is my lifeline.
Yeah.
Which makes Shalom Bayit your priority. And not because everything's perfect, but because you want it to be good and wholesome and robust and imperfect.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. You have a head on your shoulders. I'm not taking credit. I'm not her mom. Just a teacher for like 6 months to 10 months. How do you look back at that year when you think back to seminary?
Oh my gosh. Confusion. It was so confusing. I was so sure of what I thought who I was like my end product of self.
Yeah. It's not interesting.
I don't know why I was like confused that I thought that, but I literally walked into that being like,
yeah, it's immaturity.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's fair. And the more I'm alive, the more I know how much I don't know. That's been a real learning experience. Like my fast firm opinions have just shattered. And really all I have is learning from other people and knowing what resonates with me in my gut. But other than that, yeah, a lot of the girls come in headstrong, but I see slowly then life does something. Life sort of shapes you out of that stuff, which I think is nice. And then you plant the seeds in some.
Listen, the love for the land and the people is 100% something
That's not everything.
that was very much ingrained in us. But like you said, much more the people, like Shabbatot in your house, or stuff like that. That's got.
Yeah. I speak about this on one of the episodes. Do you remember going into my closet and trying on my kerchiefs? Can I say what
did you let us do that?
Not only why did I let you? When I walked out, I thought, oh my God, I need better boundaries. Like I'm a baby, and how old I was then, but I was like, that's not a great idea. And then we have a mutual friend who now works with me, and she said, because of that, she covers her hair. So I was like, okay, I would never do that again. But I'm so glad that happened. I'm so glad I was childish enough and girlyish enough to like, let's try on my kerchiefs and my wigs. But it goes to show you that everything happens for a reason. Do you think, like, looking back at your childhood, do you see how differently your son is about to be brought up compared to the way you were? And not saying that there's any blame or fault in the way you were brought up, but can you see differences?
There's definitely differences. He's growing up with a father as a farmer, and my dad is a rabbi.
Your father's a rabbi. I remember that.
Yes. Yeah, my dad was the rabbi of the community for 30 years, so we grew up as the rabbi's kids.
That's something.
Based in like a non-religious community.
Wow.
So we were always the rabbi's kids. Funnily enough, I've done exactly the same thing to him because I brought him to a Chiloni Moshav to live on, where we're basically one of the only religious people here. Like there are traditional people here.
That's amazing.
I loved how I grew up. I grew up in a house full of people all the time. But yeah, it's funny that you say that because I've never actually thought about that comparison before, but I'm literally putting him in the same scenario.
It's funny how history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of parallel, but a totally different world.
Yeah.
So what do you guys do for like, okay, it's Shabbat afternoon and you're a totally non-religious Moshav. What does that look like for you guys?
Walks in the nature.
The way Shabbat might have been. Someone just told me, they said the word Shavasana from yoga comes from the word Shabbat, which I never heard of.
Not enough,
so well. Shavasana is for yoga. No one is. It's for me. But Shavasana is basically lying down and resting at the end of the yoga class. And that rest comes from the word Shabbat. And a lot of Eastern culture did sort of mesh.
So ancient.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. So you're walking in nature.
It's a lot of walks. It's a lot of, it's like just us.
Until we move in, and then when we're your neighbor,
and then and also it's really nice because people love to come here. So like we have a lot of friends come, and like you're not just coming for a few hours. If you come, you're coming for Shabbat.
I think the nicest, and there are so many beautiful parts of Israel. I love the coast, but there's something about the north to the point I heard someone tell me the nicest part of Israel is Syria.
Yeah, like which is it? It was Syria,
literally. Yeah. And you see horses on the road when you're driving up, and mountains, and it's alive.
On the Moshav, there's sheep, horses, cows, chickens. But also, I think that's one of the things I love about Israel. Like, you know, my neighbor who Shabbat for hers any other day, she'll walk past my house and if she sees I'm in, she'll come in for a coffee on Shabbat and just, you know,
just chill with you.
Yeah, I don't think it, you know, I think we're so used to, especially how we grew up, like everything being so compartmentalized. And I completely understand that some people, it's the lack of boundaries or, you know, not the ideal, like, you know, not this, not that.
Ideal.
Exactly, whatever your ideal is. But I just think that.
Yeah. Just own who you are, embrace it, love it, and every day try to be a little bit better, or at least be in the game. But the idea that if a neighbor, personally thinking that if there's a secular neighbor, so to speak, knocks on your door, that means you've never been arrogant, judgmental, or given her a reason that she felt intimidated to knock on your door, which to me is refinement of character. And again, we don't, that's the be all and end all.
Yeah.
You know, that's, at least that's my version. Everyone, you can push back and send your feedback. I know a lot of people vehemently disagree with me. Fair. And that's why we're doing this stuff. We're keeping conversations alive and knowing everyone has a place in this family of Judaism.
Yeah.
I have a real question. I want you to paint a picture of what your day looks like from morning to night and bring us through your day. It doesn't have to be 14 hours, but what does the life look like of someone living your life?
So we wake up.
What time?
If it's because of my son, lovely, anytime from 5:45, 6:30.
I remember those days.
But those days never end because Sam leaves at about 5. Sam leaves with the sun, basically, because he works agricultural hours.
Wow.
So we're normally out from between 5:30 to 6:30.
Wow. This is like going back hundreds of years. It's very romantic sounding.
Well, it's funny because here it's unheard of that like people aren't finished work by 2, 3 p.m.
When the sun is
sun's done.
I love that.
But there's GAN drop off, and then for me it completely depends which season we're up to in the winery. Okay. So right now it's waxing bottles, labeling bottles.
First thing in the morning?
Yeah. Yeah. There can be a walk first, exercise first, sometimes exercise in the middle of the day.
Love it. You're not neglecting yourself. Don't tell me you're neglecting yourself. Do the workout, do the walk.
Yeah, no. It just depends. Then is the marketing, social media side of it, because if you don't show up on Instagram for like 2 days, then
who are you?
You're irrelevant.
Guys, check out the Instagram. It's a Family Baum Winery.
Yeah, Family Baum Winery.
Okay, no, I'm not just saying this. It's beautiful to look at. It's entertaining. Aesthetically, it's on and it's on trend.
Thank you.
Like it looks like you're also an influencer, and I know you're not, but what you're putting out there, the content is something that wants people to come closer to the point. Someone told me I stumbled upon this winery, and like, I know who you're talking about. So it means it's hitting people who aren't even following you, and it's absolutely beautiful. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So you're working on your Insta account.
Yeah, the Instagram, which in turn just brings in sales because we work on pre-sales. So I'm basically in charge of marketing, client relationships, production when it comes down to actually getting the product out.
Wow.
And then when it's actual winemaking season, so like from September, October, this room is full of fermenting grapes. So there's punch down, which is a workout in itself. I can skip the workout and just come straight here anyway.
My grandmother did that in Hungary. They would do the punch down. They had Tokay Winery, which was in the mountains in northern Hungary, and she would say how that's what they would do as girls.
Wow. That was so cool.
I know, it's in my blood.
Wow, seriously, come to the right place.
I know. What time of day are you doing a punch down? I'm just trying to get your
punch downs 3 times a day.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Like actual fermenting. Like I know when I'm fermenting like cabbage, which is so less attractive, you guys, but it's also it's taking care of it a couple of times a day.
Yeah. You've got to really and you have like a flat-ended stick, and basically what happens is when the yeast is converting itself to sugar, there's a lot of CO2 that's created as it needs to breathe. So the CO2 pushes up all of the grape clips.
Yeah.
That's a mixture of Hebrew and English. All the grape skins.
The clipos.
Yeah. To the top, and then you basically have to push them back down so that the tannins are extracted properly into the wine.
Is that like punching down dough when you're waiting for it to rise from the yeast that's emitting CO2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. So it's smelly up in here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Thursdays and Fridays look different because I'm actually in wine school for viticulture and enology. So it's a course that Sam signed up to. It was supposed to start in October 2023. Obviously, he missed the whole first semester. And then like a week before the next year started, he was like, maybe you should do it. Like, you're the one who studies between the two of us. I don't have time now.
Yeah.
So I've started it.
Do you like it?
I love it. I think it very much shows that wine is like chachmat lev, which is artistry and science fusion together. And it's very interesting for me, I guess, with like a bit of a science background to see it working in an entirely different field.
I love that. You use your scientific. Yeah, because you don't want to leave that part behind. The part that's curious about science and land and chemical reactions and all the things that got you into nursing. I mean, I'm sure there was other things that got you in maybe, and then you still bring it over to the wine. And I think it's only going to improve the quality of the product you're making.
Sure. So that's really what I decided. One of my like goals from the diploma is going to be I'm going to be able to run the lab here solely.
Between the marketing, production.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is
so that's the plan.
This is a labor of love, basically.
100%. Yeah.
When are you tired? Like, when are you like, I can't?
Whenever there's a logistical hitch. You just overcome it today, which is why I'm so happy right now. When things aren't standing on times and I've given out a certain timing, that's like when the stress kicks in.
Yeah, and stress is tiring.
Stress is tiring.
Yes, that's the adrenaline I'm talking about when you feel exhausted, when you're up against something. It might not be physical exhaustion, but it could feel like that.
100%.
So the hiccups.
Yeah, and also, so just being in Israeli is so emotionally draining at the moment that a lot of the exhaustion comes from that.
Wow.
Waking up, checking the news, being in limbo about, when the next round is. For me, I have also, as well as Sam in Miluim, I have a brother who is now in Gaza. My nephew, who he only drafted in 2023, and he managed Gaza, Lebanon, and Syria.
Oh my God.
And now my future brother-in-law's also.
So you have to check the news. I can say I'm not checking the news.
Sam says that, and then he left about 4 hours.
Yeah, literally. It's literally your blood.
Yeah.
It's very different, and God bless, every soldier feels like our family, but I'm sure it hits home differently.
Yeah, for sure.
How's your sleeping? That's an indication.
Well, it's funny. I have an Oura ring, so I only recently started tracking it.
Oh.
So I can actually see. It's not terrible. There's just not enough of it.
Really, you need more.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you need more during the day? Because some people are okay with less.
Yeah, listen, I think I got used to it. Shift work and like being up all night. And then suddenly I came here and like melatonin at the right time of day. And like you wake up and the sun shining in your face. And
they call that grounding now. It's all like trendy, but we've been in the sun in the morning. I mean, you live in Israel. This is important. Yeah.
So I was working with a functional health, then what she calls herself, basically works with me after the miscarriage and a bunch of other things. She worked with me to like rebalance. And one of the things that I had to do post being a nurse was every morning, as soon as you wake up, 15 minutes outdoors in the sun to recalibrate. Yeah. It's really you're not working nights anymore. Like you're a normal human.
And the brain will tell you at night, I've done a bunch of hours in the sun. It's time to wind down.
Yeah.
I really believe in that. And it's also kind of natural. Yeah, the way the world works. I also started taking magnesium, which has helped me sleep. Sure. I don't know if it's like a one hit, but for me, that really helps. We have to be good to ourselves. Yeah. As much as you have this dream and you want to keep going and be there for the kid and the husband and the business and Israel and the sisters, if you're not okay, the people around you can get energy from you. So as you think, I think you're pretty good about that stuff. It's cleanness. You look great. You're smiling. It's looking great.
Depends what day it is.
It's fair. All of us, welcome to humanity, So, okay, you're here and your family is where in Israel?
My family are spread over. My parents are in Jerusalem. I have another brother also in Jerusalem.
Wow. So people are here.
Yeah.
I love that. Your in-laws are here.
My in-laws are here. My sister is moving to Caesarea. My brother in Modi'in, one in Leshem.
Beautiful.
And then my sister-in-laws, there's one in Shiloh, one in Modi'in, one in Tel Aviv. And then I have 2 brothers in America and 2 brothers in England.
It's a big family.
I'm one of a tribe. I'm one of 9. I'm the 9th of 9.
You're the baby.
Yeah. 7 brothers and 1 sister.
It's the best position in the family.
Absolutely.
Come find me, guys. I'm the oldest, and I'm gonna say there's a reason the oldest gets a double portion.
100%.
Okay. So the youngest is
the experiment.
I'm experimenting. Everything, and then the youngest is just kind of the baby. Leave her alone. She'll be fine. She's being raised by older siblings. Everything is and there's a confidence and I think a bit of a swagger that comes with being the youngest. So it explains a lot. Did your family think you lost your when you said I'm moving to the north? What was the feedback you got? I'm giving up nursing. What was the feedback you got, if any?
My siblings always joke that they're scared of me. So no one really... My family's not a family where people give their opinion on things unless they ask for it.
Same.
I think we were raised like that, which is...
I kind of find it to be very freeing.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone's very much does their own thing.
Yeah.
I think that I had some siblings who were like, sure, leaving nursing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big decision.
Yeah. I have one brother particularly who really was my mentor through uni because he's the only one who did uni in Israel other than me.
Yeah.
He's actually a professor in Bar-Ilan, and I think he was a bit but as soon as anyone comes up here, they just fall in love.
They get it.
And also we moved right in the middle of the war, so people thought we were the week after the Majd al-Shams got hit.
Last here on the way up. Yeah.
So our bank's there. And then I think people really now. And me and Sam were this is the only time, now.
This is the time.
Now. Yeah.
I have to add that, please God, let it be. But I don't think Israel's ever been safer. Yeah. That's really the way I see it compared to, September 2023 to where we are today. And thank God the North is safe. I would really encourage people to come and be mafarnis, give parnasa to people who live here in restaurants and housing. I'm just a big fan.
That's true. We'll see soon. The flowers are from the North, the cheese is from the North, the wine is from the North.
Love it. We have a tasting coming up soon. But as far as sitting with you, it was so great to catch up with you and hear what's going on. We can talk for hours. I feel there's so much to discuss. But your life is but a dream for so many people. And I encourage you guys to follow your dreams and try to be practical at the same time, but not to the point where it kills it. And I just think you're doing an amazing job, and definitely in your own version, a Jewish hero for many of us out there. So thank you, Rifka.
Thanks so much for coming all the way.
The drive was fun. It's beautiful. You're not looking over your shoulder when you drive into other dicey places. You know, the windows were open. So again, it's been a pleasure. And we do hope to come up much more often.
Yeah, looking forward.
Okay, guys, Family Baum Winery. I'm going to put a link on bottom. This is not a sponsorship. It's just literally knowing that some place is beautiful and sharing some love for Israel with you guys at home. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi again. If you're enjoying what you're hearing and you feel inspired or entertained and you want to share it with people you care about, please share it with your friends, your parents, whoever. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment so we can build a community together.